So in this tutorial, we will just cover these two things. We will write a program that will pass an array to a function. Similarly, we will also pass a structure to our function. So let's open our C-Line IDE and implement the first one. So this is the program, and you can see here this is an array of 5 elements, and this is an array of marks, and in these lines we have just used a for loop that runs from 0 to 5 and it inputs the values in the array. So what we are just going to do is we will just display this array, but this time we will use a function to do that. So let's suppose the name of the function is display. So the first thing is that we need to do is we will have to write the function prototype. So I will write the function prototype here, void display, and since this function will accept only array as an input, so I will just write int followed by 2 square braces. So this is the function prototype of this function display. The next thing that I'm going to do is the function call. So the function call is display, and instead of writing the name of the array, what we need to do is we need to write only the name of the array. We will not write this whole thing. We will not write marks, square braces, 5. We will just write the name of the array. So this is function call. So now we will define our function here, which has data type void display, and since we know that we are going to use the first method called by value, what I will just do here is I will declare another array with the same number of elements as in this one. If you are passing an array with 5 elements, you will have to write an array with the same number of elements. And now what you will do is you will write a for loop here, which will just display the array in our case. So int I equals 0, I less than 5, then plus plus I, and in the next line I will just write cout a ith position, and this is like this. So this is a program in which we are passing our array to a function. So this is a call by value method. So if you want to use call by reference method, we know that we can use an ampersand operator. But in this case, if you're passing array to the function, you will not use ampersand, you will use a star operator. So a star operator, we will use a star operator for call by reference. A star operator is also known as a pointer. This is also known as a pointer, and pointer points to memory address. And we will discuss more about pointers later on. Pointers are variables that store memory addresses, but at this point we will just see that pointers, if you're using a star or you are using a pointer, it will just point to some memory address, just like ampersand. So what we will do in our C-line IDE, we will just edit some our code like this, and we will just use a pointer variable. So this is a pointer variable which we will discuss later on in the pointers tutorial. So this is how you can use call by reference, and we know what is the difference between the call by value and the call by reference. In this case, if you will change the array A, it will reflect the array marks. So in this way you can just create a function that passes arguments using call by reference method. So now let's move on to the next one. So we have done this. The next one is passing structure to a function. In the previous tutorial we discussed about structures. In fact, we've also written a program that just defines a structure, but in this one we will just implement a structure and we will pass that structure to a function. So what we are going to do is we will just create a structure rectangle followed by curly braces, and the C-line IDE will automatically write the semicolon here. So this structure rectangle will have two data members, length and breadth. So these are the two variables that our structure will hold. So what we are just going to do is we will create a function sum which will take two structure variables, and it will just return the sum of the length of both the structures. So let's suppose there are two rectangles, R1 and R2. So first of all, let's just define a function prototype. Since we are going to return something, this function is going to return something, we will have to use a return type, and we know that return type is the data type. So we will use the structure as a data type and then the name of the function, and what we have to do is we will have to write what this function will accept. So this function will accept two structures, and both of these structures are different, but they have data type rectangle. They both are structures. So this is the function prototype. Now let's move to the main function, and in the main function we will create a variable or a structure variable R1 and R2. So these two are the structure variables R1 and R2. What now we are going to do is we are going to assign the lengths and the breadths of these two rectangle structures. So R1 dot length, let's say it is 3, and then R2 dot length equals to 4, then R1 dot breadth equals 5, and let's say R2 dot breadth equals 7. So these are the lengths and breadths of these two structures. So what we will do is we will just create another variable, another structure variable R3. So the length, the structure R3 will be equal to the sum of these two structures. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to write the name of the function, and we know that this function will return a structure that will hold the sum of these two structures. So what I'm just going to do is I'm doing a function call here. So this is function call. In the sum function, I will have to just write r1 comma r2. So this is function call. Next, what I'm just going to do is I'll just display the value of r3 dot length and r3 dot breadth. This is what I will do here. Let's now define the function. We know that the return type of the function is rectangle. Then the name of the function, before body we will have to write the arguments. So let's just use call by value method. So this is call by value method. So what we need to do is we will just copy the values of r1 and r2 to some other structure variables, and let me name them rectangle r4 comma rectangle r5. And in this function what I will do is I will just I will declare a temporary structure variable, and I will return this structure. But before returning I will just assign the length of this structure as the sum of the lengths of the first, which is r4. So this is rectangle. So r4 dot length plus r5 dot length. Next thing, we will just assign the breadth of the temporary structure to the breadth of both the structures dot breadth in this way. So this function sum will return a structure, and this structure will get stored in R3, and then we will just display the length of the resulting structure. So you can say here that we are just creating two rectangles with different lengths and breadths, and then we are just creating another rectangle that is the sum of both the rectangles, and we will just display it here. So this is an example of passing structures. You can see here we are passing structure to a function, and we are even returning a structure. So this is a call by value method. If you want to use call by reference, you will just have to use ampersand. In this case, you will just write ampersand here and here also. In the function prototype there should be an ampersand, and we know that what is the difference between call by value and call by reference method, so I'm not going to discuss it here. So let's just run our program since we are using call by value method. So let's run our program and see what will be the result of this program. So you can see here the output is 7, 12. So the output is the length of the first one, which is 3, and the length of the second one, which is 4. So 4 plus 3 is 7, which is correct. So the structure has a length 7 and the breadth of the structure R3 is 12, which is also correct because if you sum up 7 plus 5, it's 12. So we have covered these two important topics. We have passed an array to a function and also a structure to a function. I strongly recommend you to just implement it yourself in the C-line IDE, or if you're using any other IDE, I'll suggest you to do it yourself and use both the methods, call by reference and call by value, to implement that. So thanks for watching.